everybody! My hair looks huge right now because I had it in plaits yesterday and then I had it in a bun on top of my head last night and then just this happened. It will deflate because my hair doesn't like being anything other than straight. We got another book. It's the book It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. There is the front cover. If you haven't heard about this book, you've probably been living under a rock. It does say book 1, so this is technically a series. It's a wordy blurb, so let's get in there and then I'll discuss all the feels that I had while reading this book. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life that she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe even a little arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. But Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan. Her first love and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. I'll admit, throughout the book I just called him Ryle, but now that I see it, after I finished the book I was thinking, could it be a Riley? Could be Riley, but I've just read it as Ryle and just thought what a weird name it was, because I've never heard the name Ryle before. I was thinking it of Ryle as in Kyle, that's where I was, but obviously you're reading it, so I remember when I read the Harry Potter books, I think I read Hermione as Hermie 1 for the first 3 books. Yeah, this is in fiction and romance and adult. Putting it just in romance by itself is, yeah, it's deceiving to just put it in romance and nothing else, because this is a book that I think should come with the trigger warning, because it does discuss and has 2 relationships in this book that look at violence and abuse and sexual abuse, and so I think people need to be aware of that going into this book. I was aware of that going into this book because obviously there's been hype around this book for so long. This is a book that was one of those TikTok things, so I was aware of some of the context of the book going in, and I was aware that having it in just romance is a red herring. Throughout the book I was just there going, this is too good to be true. And having read one other Colleen Hoover book, she's very good at painting a realistic relationship. And the way this book humanises the monsters is disturbing, but at the same time also brings it that realistic side to the relationships that Lily goes through. I'm going to do my best not to spoil it for the people who haven't read the book, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about spoiling books. I will let people know that going in that it does discuss abusive relationships, and it's not like it skirts around the issue. It's a very big theme of the book, is an abusive relationship, and throughout the book it's kind of separated into like 2 parts essentially. When you first meet Lily, she's up on a rooftop and she needs to get away. She was kind of in a bit of an emotional state. Her father's just passed away, and she spoke at his funeral where she did something that her mother wasn't really expecting, where she went up and she was supposed to say good things about her father, but she couldn't find anything nice to say about him, so she just stood up there and just didn't say anything. And when you hear the mother's reaction, it sounds like her mother has kind of chosen to look at it in a different way, because throughout the book you get more and more information about Lily's parents and their relationship as Lily was growing up and the things that Lily witnessed. Very, very early on you find out that her parents were in an abusive relationship where her father would regularly beat up her mother, and it does lead up to a reveal when you find out something that Lily witnessed when she was a child. It was the real deal breaker for Lily, and constantly Lily looks at her mother as a child thinking, why didn't my mother just leave? And the book really looks into that whole thing of breaking down stereotypes of abusive relationships and providing the answer to the question, why didn't they just leave? I'll admit, as more and more stuff comes up and out about Ryle, as I could kind of sense where it was going based on things that I'd heard about it, and I was just like, please don't do this. And then it happens, and I'm just like, because even in the author notes at the end, Colleen Hoover said that it pained her to write certain parts because even she was pushing for both Lily and Ryle at the beginning, and how she fell in love with the character of Ryle. It's so easy to fall in love with an idea and not know the truth and what happens behind closed doors. The relationship that Lily and Ryle have, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's a honeymoon start, and then as you go further into it, it's just like, no, this isn't perfect. It might appear perfect on the outside, but when you get into the nitty-gritty and the inside of that relationship, nothing is black and white. It's a complete grey area. There's stuff that Lily hides from Ryle, there's stuff that Ryle hides from Lily that comes out over the course of the book, and it's one of those things where you think communication is a big thing here, but at the same time it doesn't excuse anybody's behaviour. That's a big takeaway from this book. Even at the point when you feel like defending somebody, you're just like, yeah, but no. You can ask the question of like, oh, why didn't you do this? And why did she do this? And why did he do this? And why didn't he do this? And it's just like, but ultimately, it doesn't excuse any of the behaviour during the relationship. None of it. You can ask the question, but then at the same time go, but actually, at the end of the day, that is what they did. And it doesn't excuse anything. It just doesn't excuse anything. I feel like I'm being really cryptic because as things come out throughout the book, you're just there going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. That's where I was going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then at the end, when the title comes in at the end, and it's like, it ends with us, and it was just like, I thought the us of the title was going to be somebody else. I didn't realise where it was going to go in the end. I thought it might have been more applied to Lily and somebody else rather than who it ended up being. And yeah, I do know that the next book it starts with us. Based on how this book ends, it gives me a possible idea of where it could go. Yeah, just with that us of the title, I definitely thought it applied to somebody else. And by the time you get to the end of the book, that us of the title could refer to one of 3 people. I did find it interesting that throughout the book you get, because you have the present story in regards to Lily and Ryle, and then you are getting information about her childhood and the relationship you have with her parents and her parents' relationship, and Lily's relationship with somebody else growing up, Atlas, who was a boy who was essentially squatting in the house next door. He was homeless, and who she went to school with. And in those sections you're seeing it in diary form, but the character of Lily doesn't like to do a Dear Diary, so she does it to Dear Ellen DeGeneres, which I thought was really interesting to see it as like a Dear Ellen pages rather than a Dear Diary, Dear Lily type situation. As you find out throughout the book that Lily has kept hold of those diaries and that she is reading them in order to find some kind of closure after her dad has passed away. Those diaries cover a very important period of Lily's life in regards to meeting Atlas and the relationship that was developed when she was a teenager, and looking at her parents' relationship and the abuse that Lily witnessed as a child, and how that has influenced Lily's relationships, and how she observes her parents' relationship and how she observes her mother, which is so important in regards to understanding Lily's point of view and understanding Lily's character. It was just so powerful, and I finished it last night on my last shift at the Playhouse on our Christmas show, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was literally my last shift on the show, and so I finished the last 50 pages of this and then went on to starting book 2 of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I couldn't believe how deep this went, which isn't that unsurprising considering the one other book that I've read by Colleen Hoover, which was All Your Perfects, which that on the surface was a honeymoon stage of a relationship compared to what happened behind closed doors. And yeah, I'm really enjoying Colleen Hoover books. I find that she has a very interesting way of writing and really getting to the middle of those kind of gritty storylines and understanding the human experience. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, just very powerful. I am looking forward to reading more Colleen Hoover books. I've got like a whole list of other books that she's written. I don't understand how she has so many books out, and I only heard of it when it came to It Ends With Us. Such a powerful book. Such an incredibly powerful book. To say I loved it feels weird based when you take in consideration what it's about, but yeah, it was just a book that had me thinking so much and had me thinking about any preconceptions I may have about looking at abusive relationships. And I found myself kind of telling myself off a little bit in regards to some of the questions I was asking, but then those questions are asked and answered within the narrative, and yeah, it made me very aware of the questions I ask in my head. It really does get you thinking, this book. It's very powerful, and Lily is just such a powerful character in regards to what she goes through as a child, as a teenager, seeing her parents' relationship break down and just hoping that her mum wakes up one day and just walks out the door, and then as an adult understanding what her mother was doing and how it's not just a case of walking out the door and uprooting everybody's lives. And the fact is that it's never that simple. For some people it might be just a case of, oh, it's that easy, and even Lily goes into that thing and has that conversation of, if this happens, I'll walk out. If it happens for a second time, I'll walk out. And what makes it 10 times harder in the book for Lily is the fact that her best friend is Ryle's sister, which does make it just really difficult when you're in that position, when you're just like, I'm in this relationship and I have a friendship within the family. But yeah, the questions that it asks and the answers that it provides, I mean, obviously it's not the same for every single relationship, but it really does open your eyes to the questions that you do ask and makes you really think about those answers of just thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I might have stupidly asked that question, but know what, you're right. It's, at the end of the day, it's really nothing to do with that. It's so much deeper, and it's the questions that you first ask are so superficial. They're so superficial, don't even scratch the surface. As you can see, this is a very, very deep book that really did have me analysing the questions I was asking throughout the book, and the answers that it did provide just really did open my eyes a little bit more. It's emotional, it's thought-provoking, and I just found throughout the book I was rooting for Lily so much. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. There's your front cover. Just, wow. Wow. So, thanks for watching my book reviews. I hope the things that I say will do help you understand the things that you do go through when you read a book. Sometimes it might be a light-hearted book, sometimes it might be something as deep as this. The fact that this is kind of considered entertainment, but at the same time it does get you to question things in real life. I've had books do that to me before, where on the surface it's an entertaining book, but at the same time it does make you think about what you would do in that situation and how that can spill into real life. But yeah, just thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the people who are subscribed to me. I love you more than you know. The fact that you want to support me in this way is lovely. If there is anybody out there who wants to subscribe, please do. You know what to do if you're on YouTube, you know where to click the buttons. But I just want to say thank you so much, and love you. Thank you. Bye.